Fire codes and fire prevention were not as prevalent in the early 1900s as they are now in 2019. The buildings were nowhere near the standards we have today, and unfortunately the fire codes and standards in place currently are a direct result of the catastrophes that happened over a century ago. The Iroquois theater fire was a prime example of how the lack of fire prevention equipment and plans leads to direct chaos when a crowd is in direct danger. In Chicago, 1903, 602 people died out of the approximately 1,700 that attended. A majority of the victims were women and children attending this matinee. Most of the victims present died before firefighters could even get on scene. The direct cause of this fire was from a spark of the spotlight lamp that ignited a curtain, and the backdrop scenery was made of highly flammable material, thus catching very quickly. This event was the deadliest theater fire and the deadliest single building fire in the United States. The theater was less than 2 months old when the fire broke out. The rush to open caused a lack of attention to detail to the security and safety of the theater. The 6-story tall building advertised itself as absolute fireproof on playbills because its use of asbestos curtain, which would separate the audience from a stage fire. However, when the fire broke out, the curtain was stuck and was not able to completely come down and suppress the fire. The architect studied previous building fire cases to apply to his design. However, due to pressure to open, the architect, Benjamin H. Marshall, sacrificed safety for design by using drapery to obscure exit signs and using an exceedingly amount of wood trim. Ventilators and fire escapes were unfinished, and there was an absence of many exit signs. Another issue leading to this devastation was also the lack of fire sprinklers, fire extinguishers, or even fire alarms. Upon inspection of the aftermath, there were large flues on top of the roof of the building that could have been used to vent the smoke and flames, but they were boarded shut. As a result, when the play members tried exiting the back door, it gave fuel to the fire, sending a fireball towards the balcony, where many patrons were stuck trying to exit and instantly killed. When the audience figured out they were in danger, they quickly tried funneling through the small hallways where they would soon learn they could not get out. They were further stymied by metal accordion gates, firmly locked to keep those in upper levels from sneaking down to pricier seats during intermissions. Another issue that increased the death toll were the doors that were not locked shut. Doors opened inwards into the theater, resulting into the inability of the audience members to open them as others began to pile up against them trying to escape. As a direct result of this issue, panic bars, or crash bars, were developed for emergency exits. These bars, which are now used on all emergency exits, are simple push with little force, causing the door to open outwards. Those on the upper levels were also unfortunate with their exit plan. Some patrons on the upper levels were able to find a door to a fire escape, but found no stairs to safely lead to the ground. Some even fell to their death before bystanders were able to create a makeshift bridge.
Due to this incident, theaters across the nation were closed until closely inspected for their fire safety. Just 1 year after this horrific incident, the theater reopened under a new name. Not only was the name changed, but the regulations and fire safety equipment as well. The regulations created are now mandated by the National Fire Protection Agency, or the NFPA. The required guidelines now in effect are as follows. Fire extinguishers NFPA 10, change to sprinklers requirement NFPA 13, fire alarms NFPA 72, standards for aisles and exits NFPA 101, the use of fireproofing solution on scenery NFPA 701, limits on occupancy NFPA 101, lighting of exits, aisles, and corridors NFPA 101, panic bars found on emergency exits NFPA 101, rules to rooftop flues NFPA 204. Unfortunately, these requirements were created because of much suffering and death, but now they prevent further tragedy of lives and property. This created a whirlwind of anxious family members trying to locate and find their loved ones, but unfortunately, many were left to mourn. They believed someone should be held liable for this catastrophe. The negligence shown by the owners and builders deemed to be a fatal mistake. After numerous investigations, reams of testimony, and 3 years of legal wrangling, no one was ever held criminally liable. Numerous lawsuits from victims and families died out, becoming too expensive to maintain against multiple defendants, including the theater owners and city. Davis was tried but not convicted. In the end, a batch of payouts to families from the construction company that built the theater was the only liability. In the society that we live in today, this type of incident would not happen. Due to the legislations created, architects, building owners, etc., are responsible for making the buildings and public centers safe and reliable. It is not only the responsibility of the business owners and fire departments to educate the public, but also citizens. As an active participant in the community, we must make ourselves aware of the possible fire hazards and acknowledge the information of fire prevention. These resources are available to keep ourselves up to date and help our community safer.